Reality is what we take it to be, not what we wish it to be, Marcus Aurelius warned himself in the imperial dawns of Rome. If you're nurturing hope for romance while she quietly files you under buddy, you risk wasting months, sometimes years, in self-inflicted exile. Stay to the final chapter, because knowing these 7 cues lets you pivot with dignity instead of drowning in denial. While you listen, hit like, smash subscribe, and share your own wake-up moment in the comments. Your story might spare somebody else the same mistake. Chapter 1. She calls you a friend, repeatedly. She greets you with a warm "Hey, bestie," and publicly tags you with captions like "Love my guy friend," splattered under photos for the world, and more importantly, her social circle, to see. On the surface, it feels affectionate, even reassuring. But the language is deliberate, not accidental. Each time that F-word, friend, leaves her lips, it sets another stone into the boundary wall. This territory is platonic, no entry beyond the gate. You might rationalize it away. She's just comfortable, you tell yourself. She's trying to protect something fragile. But language isn't random, it is habit-shaped by deeper intent. Words mirror reality long before actions catch up. When a woman is drawn to you romantically, her speech shifts accordingly. Your name stands alone, powerful, unqualified. "I can't wait to see you. He's amazing." No disclaimers. No prefixes. No distancing labels. Listen closely when she introduces you in mixed company. The contrast is stark. If her voice once carried a subtle pride, "This is the man I keep telling you about," then there was attraction brewing. She placed you in the center of her social awareness, flagging you for attention, perhaps even silent competition among her peers. But if she launches every introduction with "Meet my buddy," or "Oh, he's basically my brother," the decree has already been signed. The Senate has convened. The scroll reads amicus only, friend, counselor, helper, but never lover. The Stoics trained themselves to prioritize perception over fantasy. They demanded chloride realism where other men spun daydreams. Refused to hallucinate romance where her diction flatly denies it. If she corrals you verbally into the friend pen, it's not an accident, and it's not your invitation to campaign for parole. The cure is neither debate nor silent suffering. It's withdrawal, to reclaim your self-respect before it erodes under the steady acid of unreciprocated longing. You must resist the temptation to prove your romantic worth by showing how dependable, how funny, how endlessly available you can be. If you allow yourself to become the auxiliary character in her life, the dutiful helper while she pursues passion elsewhere, you sentence yourself to emotional purgatory. A name unprefixed by friend is what desire calls you. Demand no less. Not through ultimatums, not through sulking, but through silent, decisive action. When she calls you buddy with that disarming smile, you don't correct her, you simply recognize the reality she's handing you and make your decisions accordingly. You invest where reciprocity lives. You pour energy where doors are open, not where gates are painted shut with polite smiles. Friend-zoning language isn't subtle if you're trained to hear it. It's her way of establishing safety without having to directly reject you. It's the social script for keeping a good man around without engaging the full depth of what he hopes to offer. It's practical, even kind in its way, but deadly if you refuse to acknowledge it. Understand, too, that if you accept the bestie role long enough, you eventually lock yourself into it. Over time, she can't even imagine you romantically, because familiarity without tension breeds siblinghood, not seduction. The window closes. And once closed, no grand gesture, no last-minute confession, no cinematic kiss will pry it open again. Stoic discipline urges you to make clean cuts. If you sense you're being framed as the forever friend, pull back. Reduce interaction frequency. Decline invitations that reinforce the brotherly vibe. Prioritize your mission, your passion, your physical and mental fortification. Let her see the distance growing, not as punishment, but as a natural consequence of misaligned vision. If she notices, if she misses you, if she revisits her categorization, she will find a way to show it. She'll shift her language. She'll reach out with vulnerability instead of banter. She'll name you with something heavier, riskier, less sterile than buddy. If she doesn't, you've already saved yourself months, even years, of misplaced hope and hollow proximity. Self-respect doesn't demand that you hate her for the boundary she set. It demands that you love yourself enough not to sit contentedly inside it when what you seek is outside its walls. The men who live vividly, command loyalty, and inspire devotion are not the ones who begged for recognition, they are the ones who refused misclassification. Pay attention to her words. Trust what they signal. Adjust your path accordingly. Because the man who requires no labels to remind a woman of his worth never has to beg her to rethink what she already knows. Chapter 2. The relationship stays purified of romantic tension. You sit shoulder to shoulder on her couch, Netflix humming in the background, 2 mugs cooling on the coffee table, but the space between you may as well be an ocean. If you graze her hand in passing, there's no pause, no electricity, no bashful reaction. She doesn't flinch because she doesn't even register it. No current passes between you. It's not rejection because there's nothing for her to reject. You are part of her emotional furniture, comfortable, safe, unremarkable. When she does touch you, it's playful and desexualized. She ruffles your hair like you're her mischievous little brother. She punches your shoulder like a teammate after a goal, laughing but never lingering. You are handled, not held. And when you suggest hanging out one-on-one, she usually finds a way to convert the encounter into a group expedition, inviting a friend, a cousin, a whole committee of others so it's not weird. Every potentially intimate moment is diluted before it can gain pressure, like a dam releasing water before it builds force. Stoic realism demands brutal honesty, behaviors reveal beliefs. If she were attracted to you, biology would push micro-signals into every interaction without her conscious permission. Her pupils would dilate when you entered the room. Her body would mirror yours without thinking. Her hand would linger a second longer on yours. She'd find reasons to touch, adjust your collar, smooth your hair, pick lint from your sleeve, not excuses to buffer every encounter with third parties and casual distance. The absence of these signs isn't a riddle to decode. It's not a secret challenge waiting for a clever enough strategy to unlock it. It's not mixed signals. It's a message delivered in every laugh that doesn't linger, every hangout that multiplies witnesses, every night she falls asleep after a warm, platonic text exchange. You must stop reading empty space like hopeful poetry. You must stop romanticizing neutrality. Where attraction lives, tension lives. Spark is not something you install into a connection through patience or proximity, it's either there or it isn't. And when it isn't, no amount of waiting, wishing, or secret strategic escalation can manufacture it. The Stoics teach us to respond not to how we want things to be, but to how they actually are. If romantic tension is absent, recognize it as data, not a personal failure. Do not rage at reality, thank it for the clarity. Withdraw. Renovate your posture, your energy, your standards. Withdraw emotionally without drama. Reduce time spent initiating, proposing, validating. Let the silence fill naturally and see if she moves into it. If she doesn't, that absence is your final answer. Return only if genuine heat surfaces, not imagined, not manufactured, but real, organic, undeniable. If heat never comes, then the clarity you've gained is already a victory. You've been freed from the invisible labor of carrying a fantasy on your back. You've been released from the emotional tax of investing in something that could never yield a full return. It's not her fault for lacking chemistry, and it's not your fault for hoping it might exist. Chemistry is a sovereign force, indifferent to effort, unaffected by logic. Some matches strike fire on first contact, others smolder into friendship or simply drift into indifference. Accepting that difference early is a mark of maturity and self-respect. Understand that tension isn't just a prerequisite for romance, it is romance in its embryonic form. It's the charged silence, the unspoken invitation, the glance held a half-second too long. It's the feeling that every laugh, every touch, could tilt into something more, and that both of you feel the edge without having to name it. If that edge doesn't exist, the relationship is not stalled, it's simply different. It's not a slow-burning love story, it's a friendship. And while friendships are noble, confusing them with courtships only breeds bitterness. Withdraw with grace. Focus on becoming the man whose presence naturally creates tension through ambition, presence, groundedness, vitality. A man deeply alive and internally validated needs no external spark to feel valuable. He carries his own fire, and if a woman senses it, she will lean closer instinctively. If she doesn't, she was never meant to stand near your flame. Accept. Adjust. Ascend. Chapter 3. She requests coaching about other men. Her texts buzz your phone at 11:57 p.m., just as you're settling into bed or grinding through tomorrow's strategy plans. They come sugar-coated in confusion. Why hasn't Ryan replied? Do guys really ghost over nothing? Am I reading too much into it when a guy likes my story but doesn't text? It feels flattering at first. After all, she's reaching out to you. She trusts your opinion. She values your insight. But what you fail to notice in that dopamine haze is what she really values you as: Switzerland. Safe. Neutral. Non-threatening. Incapable of invasion. You are not the man on her mind, you are the advisor she consults to decipher the men who are. Every time you sit there, coaching her about another guy's feelings, you drive a deeper wedge into the platonic category. You're sharpening your identity in her mind, not as a potential partner, but as the free therapist who trades emotional labor for fleeting validation. You're offering premium strategic services in exchange for absolutely zero romantic ROI. Stoic detachment urges you to see this clearly for what it is, a role that drains your agency and undermines your masculine frame. It's noble to help others, but not when the help you offer slowly bleeds away your self-respect. Decline the unpaid therapist chair. Do so with calm, not anger. When the next midnight inquiry pings, smile inwardly and reply with cheerful boundary setting. I'm not the best guy to break that down. You should probably ask him directly. No bitterness. No lecture. Just a clean refusal to play a role you never auditioned for. Then pivot back to your purpose. Hit the gym. Draft the next business plan. Text a woman who texts you because she's interested in you, not in some ghost named Ryan. Your purpose is your fortress, stay inside it. Let her feel the distance if she's truly invested, or watch her comfortably retreat to seek the next friendly consultant if she's not. Understand this iron truth: a man who triggers attraction is the subject of her wonder, not the interpreter of someone else's signals. Attraction demands mystery, gravitational pull, emotional heat, not comfortable conversations about someone else's emotional weather patterns. The man she truly wants makes her wonder where she stands with him, not the other way around. If she recalibrates, if she suddenly seeks to engage you personally, shifts conversation from other men back to your dreams, your humor, your presence, consider it cautiously. Calibration must be demonstrated consistently over time, not just when your refusal forces her attention. If she doubles down on advice-seeking, treating your boundary like a minor inconvenience to be bypassed, take the data as final. She's telling you plainly, you're the friend-zone sage, not the partner in her vision. Either result frees you. Either outcome gifts you time, clarity, and energy, resources you can redirect toward women who view you as the romantic puzzle worth solving, not the free consultancy booth for decoding other men. Every hour you spend interpreting another man's silence for her is an hour not spent amplifying your own voice, your own path, your own magnetism. Stop analyzing ghosters and start becoming the man too vivid, too centered, too whole to be forgotten. No woman lies awake wondering about the friend who solved her last dating riddle. She lies awake wondering about the man who made her heart race and her mind spin because he wasn't endlessly available, because he had standards, because he chose himself first. Be that man. Choose yourself before choosing to rescue her from the silence of men she actually wants. Protect your throne. Walk away from the unpaid labor of emotional validation. Build a life that makes women want to decode you and not the ghosts cluttering her inbox. Chapter 4. Inconsistent communication, her terms, not yours. Days of silence glide by, then your screen lights up with a barrage of memes, TikTok links, and OMG look at this messages precisely when her boredom peaks, her loneliness bites, or her IKEA bookshelf refuses to stand straight. She vanishes the moment the entertainment lands or the furniture stands upright, resurfacing only when a fresh crisis or lull demands your attention again. You begin to notice the rhythm. Your digital doorbell rings at two predictable frequencies, emergency and ennui. The cadence is utility, not intimacy. Stoic philosophers warned that connections constructed on necessity alone dissolve the instant that necessity evaporates, just as scaffolding is stripped once a facade is painted. Listen to the timing. Does she peck solely for midnight venting when insomnia hits? Does she request a ride to the airport at dawn because surge pricing is brutal? Does she plead for an emergency +1 after a flaky date ghosts? If your phone glows only when her weekend plan collapses or her car battery dies, you are not the leading man in a love story. You are the spare tire she feels grateful for in the moment, yet forgets once the journey resumes. The remedy is cheerful but firm boundaries delivered sans resentment. When the next convenience ping arrives, reply with calm self-respect, can't tonight, deep into a project. Maybe later in the week. Then observe. Authentic attraction accommodates your schedule, pivots with mutual enthusiasm, and suggests shared experiences that exist for their own joy, not merely to grease the gears of her logistics machine. If she ghosts after you erect a single boundary, you've spared yourself months of limbo, uncertainty, and emotional overdraft. Understand the psychological mechanics at play, intermittent reinforcement, the same principle that keeps gamblers tethered to slot machines, hooks your dopamine. A sporadic pop-ins keep you guessing whether this burst means she finally sees you or only needs you. The brain easily mistakes irregular reward for high value. Stoic reason smashes that illusion by replacing impulse with inspection. Ask yourself, does this pattern enhance or erode my self-respect? A partner who truly values you will not let contact lapse for days, then parachute in when circumstances suit her. She will message you on a random Tuesday because a joke reminded her of your banter, not because she needs a lift to Terminal 2. Craft a communication rhythm that honors reciprocity. Sometimes you initiate, sometimes she does. You propose an outing, she counters with her own idea. If that symmetry never manifests, scale investment to match her level. Communicate proactively when life gets hectic, deadlines heavy till Friday, call you Saturday afternoon, and expect the same courtesy in return. When both parties manage expectations, trust flourishes. When only one does, imbalance festers until attraction suffocates under the weight of unspoken resentment. Stoic practice trains the perceptive eye to view events as they are, not as desire paints them. If her presence in your inbox resembles a utility bill, arriving only when payment is due, accept it. Don't spiral into self-critique or mount grand gestures to prove you're indispensable. Your worth is already proven by the stability of your schedule, the clarity of your mission, and the loyalty you devote to those who reciprocate fully. The moment you stop chasing sporadic crumbs of attention, you liberate focus for people who serve a consistent feast of connection. Consider the broader implications. Inconsistent communication often mirrors inconsistent commitment in all domains: future travel, crisis management, shared finances, family emergencies. If she is sporadic about a text, imagine the turbulence when actual storms arrive. Better to read the forecast now than board a flight into lasting chaos. So when the meme avalanche hits at 1 a.m. after a 4-day silence and a favor stealth drops at the tail end, pause. Smile. Reply at a time genuinely convenient for you, and decline politely if it isn't. You're not playing hard to get, you're living easy to respect. Attraction might bloom if she recognizes your value beyond convenience, adjusts her cadence, and meets you in consistent reciprocity. If it doesn't, your calm boundary has already preserved the time, energy, and self-esteem you can invest in someone eager to share life, not just siphon service. Self-respect isn't a tactic, it's your North Star. Follow it, and communication patterns, hers and yours, will quickly reveal whether paths truly align. Chapter 5. She plays matchmaker with her friends. You're sitting at brunch, sharing laughs over coffee and eggs, and just as the conversation reaches a relaxed flow, she turns to her friend Claire, then back to you with a bright smile and says, "You two would be perfect together." It's casual, playful, maybe even framed as a compliment. But beneath the lightness, the message is tectonic. She is immunizing the group against the idea of you and her ever becoming an item. She's carefully repositioning you, not as a potential lover, but as a harmless, helpful middleman. A woman who pictures you as a romantic partner does not volunteer you to her friends. She doesn't nudge you into someone else's orbit. She guards that access jealously, whether consciously or instinctively. She doesn't want her friends to get too close to the man she's interested in because that emotional exclusivity is part of her own future vision. If she's eager to hand you off like a party favor, it's because her mind has long since closed the possibility of anything deeper between you and her. Stoic self-command demands that you decode this without ego collapse. It's easy to rationalize the setup. Maybe she's just shy, maybe she's testing me, maybe if I impress her friend, she'll see me differently. False. Attraction is straightforward when it's real. It seeks fewer walls, not more. A woman building bridges between you and others is not building a bridge toward you. She's moving you gently, diplomatically, into a safer, platonic compartment where you can stay useful without ever becoming a romantic threat. Accept the signal without bitterness. Thank her warmly. Meet Claire if curiosity strikes. Who knows, maybe genuine chemistry waits there, but mark the moment clearly as a milestone of closure, not a hidden opportunity to double back. Attempting to reverse engineer attraction once she's begun matchmaking you elsewhere is like trying to launch a ship already welded to the dock. No amount of Polish or strategic remaneuvering unsticks a vessel that's been intentionally locked in place. Stoic practice teaches acceptance of what is, not clinging to what isn't. When you feel the sting of being redirected, use it as a discipline checkpoint. Observe your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Don't plead, don't grandstand, and for the love of all self-respect, don't compete for her attention against the friend she's offered up. That path leads nowhere good, only to lower self-esteem and deeper entrenchment in the wrong role. Exit gracefully. Pull your energy back without announcement or dramatics. Reinforce internally that your time, attention, and emotional bandwidth are resources reserved for those who see your value from the start, not after an experiment, not after a strategic accidental spark, but from the moment they realize your presence commands attention without needing orchestration. Reinvest the effort you might have spent daydreaming into areas that create new openings, skill acquisition, fitness upgrades, social expansion beyond that immediate group. Channel the emotional momentum back into crafting a life so magnetic, it draws in women who don't pawn you off to their friends, but instead find themselves fighting the instinct to claim you for themselves. Remember, your gateway to romance rarely lies through the doorway she just locked. No amount of extra niceness or clever positioning reopens a gate already closed and barred with polite smiles. Your best move isn't to bang harder on a door that's been shut, it's to find the doors already swinging open elsewhere, or better yet, to build your own house where the right ones will come knocking without needing an invitation. This isn't bitterness, it's clarity. This isn't pettiness, it's sovereignty. Stoic self-respect demands it. So smile at brunch. Compliment Claire if she's charming. Laugh along. But know, with steel under your calm, that your path moves forward, not sideways into the wrong destiny. Thank her silently for the clarity. You didn't lose a chance, you gained a compass reading that steers you straight toward where real attraction, real passion, and real partnership wait. Chapter 6. Emotional intimacy without physical progression. Your phone glows past midnight while you and her trade unfiltered memories, her parents' divorce that still echoes in holiday dinners, your darkest self-doubts you haven't confessed even to your brother, the private ambitions you scribble in journals nobody sees. The call stretches for hours. You laugh so hard you can't breathe, then, without warning, one of you is tearing up. The emotional charge feels narcotic, each confession lands like a dopamine shot straight to the bloodstream. By the third week of these heartline marathons, you're convinced a unique bond is forming. But every attempt to nudge the connection into embodied territory collapses. You suggest coffee for two, she morphs it into brunch with 3 friends so it's less intense. You shift closer on a park bench, fingers brushing, ready to lace through hers, she redirects the moment into a quick high five for being such a good listener. You compliment her perfume and she responds with a sibling punch to the shoulder. She devours empathy like breathable oxygen, yet flinches from flirtation as if it might choke the supply. The result is an intimacy funnel. All your deepest energies pour in, none of the romantic current circulates back. Stoic wisdom warns against such asymmetry. Giving what costs you dearly, time, focus, emotional bandwidth, while accepting zero romantic reciprocity is like investing premium capital and taking IOUs that never mature. Your silence doesn't convert the deficit into profit, it compounds it. She gains catharsis, clarity, relief. Your desire sits unpaid, accruing frustration instead of interest. And frustration, if unspoken, ferments into resentment, poison that kills both budding romance and genuine friendship. To expose the real polarity, propose an unmistakably date-centric experience. Choose tickets to a dimly lit jazz lounge, an evening art exhibit, or a weekend wine tasting, settings designed for proximity, ambience, and the plausible magic of a first kiss. Such scenarios remove ambiguity. If she reroutes you to a group event, claims a sudden workload spike, or answers with that airy "let's play it by ear," treat the reply as empirical data. Friendship confirmed, romance denied. Stoic clarity demands that you accept outcomes without complaint. You're not wrong for wanting your affection reciprocated, you're wrong only if you lie to yourself about the odds once the evidence is clear. The corrective action isn't punitive but protective. Preserve compassion. She may sincerely value your counsel, but withdraw the premium, tailor-made emotional services that siphon your life force and blunt your pursuit of mutual chemistry elsewhere. Cut the midnight therapy sessions to 10-minute wellness check-ins. Redirect that liberated mental energy toward your craft, your lifts, your sleep disciplined into REM-rich cycles. Offer balanced interaction, a quick coffee in daylight, a group trail hike, a casual meme exchange, contexts where effort aligns with platonic reality. A heart is not a charitable donation, it is currency meant for shared evolution, and balanced ledgers keep love solvent. Removing yourself from the unpaid counselor role triggers one of 2 beneficial outcomes. Option A, she feels the void, realizes the uniqueness of what she's lost, and returns with newly awakened attraction, clear, forward, and unmistakably physical. Option B, she seamlessly replaces your shoulder with another friend and your schedule opens for someone who meets vulnerability with equal heat. Either way, sovereignty is reclaimed. Your hours become yours again, ready for endeavors and relationships that pay dividends instead of extracting fees. Consider the broader logic. Emotional intimacy without physical progression is not inherently immoral or manipulative, it's simply mismatched expectation. If she wants a brother confessor and you want a lover, every hour together widens the gap. Stoic practice teaches that suffering germinates in the space between reality and desire. Narrow that space through honest naming. I value what we share, but I'm seeking a partner, not just a confidant. Spoken calmly, this sentence repels confusion like oil repels water. Do not fall into the martyr rhythm, believing your constant availability might eventually flip her switch. Attraction rarely blooms on the back of obligation, it blooms in the light of polarity and mutual risk. Keep empathy generous, but keep romantic energy on a budget reserved for those willing to reinvest. Audit weekly, did your interactions sow future reciprocity or feed a one-sided cycle? Adjust allocations like a disciplined money manager trimming loss makers from a portfolio. Remember, love flourishes on reciprocity, not martyrdom. Name the dynamic for what it is, deep friendship, not slow-burn romance, at the earliest signs, and you spare both parties expectation hangovers. Stoic prudence isn't cold, it's clear. In that clarity, authentic passion finds space to root, flower, and endure through all seasons, because its soil is balanced, its nutrients shared, and its growth mutual from the very first seed. Chapter 7. She verbalizes future plans that don't feature you. Conversation drifts to her dream sabbatical in Bali, the sunrise meditation she'll Instagram from a bamboo bungalow, the cafes where she'll workshop a novel. You nod, fascinated, until you realize you exist only as a spectator in her monologue. She details an ideal wedding aesthetic, wildflowers on a cliff at sunset, but the groom is an airy abstraction who bears no resemblance to you. Next comes her relocation fantasy, a graduate program abroad, a coastal apartment, a new phone area code. In every vision you're invited to applaud but never to act, you consulted the way a journalist polls passers-by, not the way a partner co-authors destiny. You might think this omission is harmless brainstorming, but language is an architect of intention. Marcus Aurelius drafted battle strategies with generals beside him, not with spectators on the sidelines. He knew an empire rises only when every voice in the room carries skin in the game. Likewise, a woman genuinely attracted subconsciously casts you in her future scenes. She uses possessive language. When we travel, our first place, I can picture us volunteering there. If her blueprints hold only her silhouette, recognize she's filing permits for construction without your signature. Respect the paperwork. Look deeper at the psychology. When humans weave future stories, they instinctively populate those stories with the people they desire, depend on, or trust at a visceral level. If she consistently omits you, that omission is not rhetorical laziness, it's neurological truth. Her subconscious mind hasn't filed you as a permanent feature of her environment. Continuing to pour emotional labor into her vision after such revelations is like supplying bricks to a building from which you'll ultimately be barred entry. Stoic wisdom insists on alignment with reality, pretending you're integral to plans that exclude you breeds resentment, not romance. Pull your energy back and reinvest in blueprints where you wield the pen. Perhaps you've stayed because the consultant role feels safer than risking outright rejection, but remaining her confidant while she designs a life without you is a slow-motion act of self-betrayal. Begin a gentle but firm recalibration. The next time she describes a distant goal that doesn't feature you, pause the eager nodding and ask, "Where do you see us in that picture?" Deliver the question calmly, without accusation. Her answer will clarify more than weeks of mind reading could. If she stammers, changes the subject, or looks startled that you even asked, you've received an honest verdict cloaked in discomfort. Accept it as freely as you would accept a weather report you didn't want but cannot change. The Stoics remind us that suffering sprouts from refusing what evidence plainly shows. Withdraw with grace, not spite. You need not announce a storm-off exit or stage a manifesto about feeling used. Simply stop pouring premium attention into blueprints that don't grant you equity. Shorten the late-night idea sessions, politely decline when she seeks your advice on an apartment layout across the country. Redirect the mental bandwidth you once used to refine her life strategy toward advancing your own trajectory, courses you've postponed, strength goals you've skimmed past, friendships that do reciprocate vision. Observe what happens next. Often the energetic shift will flush out her hidden perception. If she notices the gap and begins weaving you into her future proposals, you have new data. Does she say, "Actually, I'd love for you to visit Bali with me. Imagine us surfing at dawn"? Does she slip from "my wedding to our ceremony"? Genuine inclusion reveals itself fast when space invites it. If silence fills the void where your counsel once lived and she seeks a different sounding board, you've confirmed the friend zone status without guesswork. Stoic self-command demands you choose environments where your presence is prized, not merely tolerated. Leaving the friend zone truly begins the moment you refuse the interior role of perpetual consultant but never co-architect. Walk out with shoulders squared, identity intact, and new creative plans of your own. Somewhere else there is a table where your name is engraved on the blueprint header, not penciled in the margins. Claim that seat and build with someone who meets your gaze over rolled-out schematics and says, "Let's draw this future together." The man who refuses to sign on to blueprints that exclude him graduates from wishful participant to sovereign designer, and only in that sovereignty can authentic partnership find room to break ground. The 7 unmistakable signals. If even to describe your situation, stop wishing yourself into her heart and start walking toward places where heart and intent meet on equal ground. Freedom begins the instant you refuse to negotiate with ambiguity. Tell us below the sign that woke you up. Tap like if this reality check saved you time. Smash subscribe for next week's Stoic strategy and share the episode with a friend still translating mixed messages. Remember, attention is finite. Spend it where it multiplies. Leave the friend zone behind and let your next conversation be with someone who sees the man you actually are, not the placeholder you agreed to be.